السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Could you let me know if the voice is audible, inshallah? وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. The aim of today's live, inshallah, is to become more grateful for what it is that you have. And a good way in becoming grateful for what you have is by having perspective over it and by having understanding concerning it. And the perspective that I want to inform you of today is the understanding of less is more. Less is more. And that's something that the people don't seem to understand. Those that are intoxicated by the worldly life, the dunya, those that are deluded by the glitters of the worldly life, they do not understand that less is more. And they don't understand that more is less. And when we say less is more, we're speaking about two things. We're speaking about the external and the internal. And I hope to present this to you in a written format, just so you can comprehend it even more. I'll give you an example. Less is more. We'll do something here which is externally less, but internally it is more. Number one, less speech is more what? There's more depth to that speech. There's more meaning to that speech. There's more meaning to that speech. There is more focus concerning it. And there's more care in constructing these words. So less is more. Less speech is more depth, more meaning, more focus, and more care. Let's give an example concerning this. Imagine it was said to you that you only have the power, the ability to say 10 words a day. Only 10 words. In the entire 24 hours that you have in the day, you can only say 10 words. Only 10 words. You can only express yourself in 10 words. You can only explain yourself in 10 words. You can only engage in what you see during the entire day with 10 words. Only 10 words. If that was the case, there would be more depth concerning what you say, because you're trying to be as expressive as possible. You're trying to hit many birds with one stone. There will be more depth. And more depth means there's going to be more meaning behind what you say. Because you're trying to express yourself with only 10 words, you will do the best in your ability to use the most comprehensive words that you are aware of, which then means there's going to be more meaning behind it. There is more focus because now you know you only have 10 words for the entire day. Only 10 words. So you will scour through to find the best words to say. And again, it's more care because you know you've only got 10 words. You're going to not want to miss out on that opportunity and not want to mess up one word. There's more care concerning it. So in less speech, there is more of these. This is just one example. This depth and meaning and focus and care, you'll find these are the increases to less of so much. So let's say number 2. Let's say you only had less amount of time with an individual or less amount of time with a family member, with a loved one. Let's say you've only had 24 hours. If you only had 24 hours with that loved one, again, there would be more depth, there would be more meaning in your interactions, in what you say, in what you do, in how you act. There will be more care concerning it. There will be more focus concerning it. You will be more attentive. You will be more present. You will be more focused. And this is if you only had 24 hours. You'd be more sincere. You'd be more sincere, and you'd be more regretful as well. You'd be more regretful because now less has put into perspective for you. Less has put into perspective for you your mindless actions of the past. Your mindless actions of the past. Your evil actions, your injustices. It puts so much into perspective for you. If you only had 24 hours of time. Less is more. But the people don't seem to understand that. They seem to turn away from it. And they think that more is more. Because there's only one world that they see. That is the external world. They do not see the internal world. They do not understand the internal world. They claim to want depth, and they claim to want meaning. They claim to want focus. They claim to want care. They claim to want sincerity. But then they've turned away from this world. Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. They've turned away from this world and they only focus on the external, and they think more equals more, and it only makes sense because it's more, meaning that should be more, right? No. We can do the opposite. More could be actually less. I'll give you an example. If you had more, let's say, more ocean water. If you drank more ocean water, let's say you're very, very thirsty. You're very, very thirsty. You're extremely thirsty. Your thirst level is extremely high, and you drank a lot of ocean water, and you kept drinking and drinking. What would happen? What would happen? The reality is you're dehydrating. You are dehydrating. It's as if you're actually not even drinking water, because the purpose of you to drink the water is to what? It's to hydrate yourself. So the more you drink of the ocean water, the less hydrated you become. The more you drink ocean water, the more dehydrated the more dehydrated you become, but also the less hydrated you become, because the purpose of you drinking the ocean water when you're thirsty is to hydrate yourself. So more can be less. And this is the example of the worldly life. The worldly life is like a person. He's hungry and he's thirsty. He's got his desires, and so he thinks the smartest thing to do is to drink the ocean water. And he keeps drinking the ocean water thinking more equals more. He thinks more equals more. But in reality, what he's doing to himself as he drinks from the worldly life is that he is constantly hydrating himself, and he's not hydrating himself in reality. He's making things worse for himself. So more doesn't actually equal more. More can actually equal less. But this is what the people don't seem to understand. I'll give an example. Number 2, people think more money equals more friends or more companions. Now, in one sense that could be true. But it's not. Who said it's going to be true in the sense of more sincere companions, more loyal companions, more truthful companions? Who said that? Because a lot of the people who have money, who have a lot of money, they tend to find less companions. They tend to find less sincere companions, less loyal companions, less truthful companions, because a large majority of the people they interact with are actually there not for themselves as an individual, but they are actually there for their money, not for them. They feel betrayed. They feel neglected. The moment the money disappears, then those so-called companions of theirs disappears. More equals less, but the people don't understand that. I'll give you an example. Another one. The more you turn away, from Allah, yes, the less your happiness will be. The less clear your direction will be, the less your happiness will be. And you think that you are filling your stomach, when in reality you're not. You think you're feeding it good, when in reality you're not. Like the case of more ocean water that you drink is dehydrating you. It's less hydrating. And the more you turn away from your Rabb, the less you will find success in this worldly life and in the hereafter. The less you will find satisfaction in the worldly life and in the hereafter. The less you will find happiness and sanity. The less you will find comfort and serenity. The less you will find goodness in the worldly life and in the hereafter. So, more can equal less, and less can equal more. less of the external factors from the worldly life can equal more in the internal, and more in the external, or more in the internal, can also equal less in the external. So don't get confused, and don't think that in life you just have to chase after more and more and more and more. How many people are there that chase after money and chase after money and chase after money, and they chase after money as if they have no money? It's as if their money is decreasing, getting more less and less and less after each time they run after it. It's as if it decreases in every single time, and so they are increasing in trying to achieve a thing that is decreasing, and that is what? Deception, delusion. It's like a person that's got it's like a rabbit that has a carrot that's connected to its head, and it can see the carrot and it runs after the carrot, but the carrot is moved forward in the direction as well. It moves forward. That's why they say the more you turn to the worldly life, the less attracted the worldly life is to you. The more you're attracted to the worldly life, the less the worldly life is attracted to you. But the less you are attracted to the worldly life, the more the worldly life is attracted to you. Isn't that crazy? When you sacrifice the worldly life and you turn away from the worldly life and you don't pay attention to the worldly life will start to pay attention to you. But if you pay attention to it all the time and run after it all the time, it's going to run away from you. That's the reality. So understand this matter, because it is truly a great way to have perspective over things that you should be grateful for. Words are precious. We should be grateful for them. People are precious that we love. We should be grateful for them. Time is precious. We should be grateful for time. Health is precious. We should be grateful for health. The mind is precious, and the intellect is precious, and we should be grateful for them. We should be grateful for the tongue, because the tongue is a blessing. If it was not able to move, and you did not have a tongue, you would not be able to speak in a more formal and clear manner like the rest of the people speak. It's something to be grateful for. And the people don't tend to know the worth of something until it disappears. The people don't tend to know the worth of something until it disappears. Wallahu musta'an. Look at the Salaf, for example. When they would speak little. But even though they would speak little, there would be much depth and meanings in their words. There was much sincerity in their words. There was more precision. It was precise in their words. Even though they would speak little. They would eat little, but the actions that they would do during the day was much. They would help the people, they would give zakah, they would fight, they would write and teach. They would do so much, even though they would eat little. But you are told today you need to eat much to do much. Well, that's somewhat crazy, because the more you eat, the reality is the less energy and strength you will actually have to carry out any actions, because your body is going to focus on digesting the food, and all the strength you could have had for actually doing so much more, it's focused on just food. So less food can equal more strength. More food can equal less mental ability. Do you understand? So the Salaf, they would eat little, but they would do much. They would speak little, but their words would have so much meaning. They would live in small places, but it was vast and expansive, like a wide garden as far as the eye can see. They may not have had many companions and friends, but the friends they had and the companions they had, the brotherhood that was between them was far greater than a king who may have had hundreds and hundreds of so-called friends. In the loyalty, in the love, in the care, in the focus, in the wishing well and wanting good, they could not comprehend in the least. For example, some of them would write the names of their brothers and they would make dua for them in the night. Oh Allah, have mercy on him. Oh Allah, forgive him. In the depth of the night when the people are asleep, their hearts would remember, they would be reminded of their companions and they would make dua for them. And when one of them would die, the brother would make dua whilst he was alive. Oh Allah, forgive him. Oh Allah, widen for him his grave and easen for him his affairs. O Allah, rectify his state for him. O Allah, forgive him and grant him goodness. Is that not worth far more than having hundreds and hundreds of so-called friends who when you die they forget you as if you've never existed, and as soon as the night comes they are far asleep because you're not worthy of even being thought about? So they may not have had many friends, but indeed their companionship was great, their care was great, and they would look out for each other in ways that would surprise you. You would think to yourself, how does someone even comprehend, how does someone even come to this stage of thinking this way? How does someone even act like this? It's shocking how merciful they are, how caring they are, how they will go out of their own way to put mountains and mountains upon their shoulders just to ease in your affairs. And that's true companionship. That is true companionship. So less is more. Don't be deceived. They tell you need to have more. You see, more can be very dangerous. The more money you have, the more questionings you will have. More questionings is not good because you've got more responsibilities. You have more of a scope of falling into error. You have more of a scope of slipping. Iblis and the shayateen have a wider scale to attack you from. The more you have, the more you are halved. The more you possess, the more you are possessed, as they say. Why do you think people keep running after the worldly life? And they keep wanting more of it. They want this purse, they want these shoes, they want these cars, they want these jewelries, they want these brands, they want these names, they want these things, and they just keep wanting it and wanting it. But they never learn a lesson, because more is less. That's what they don't understand. If I gave you 5 million and you spent it all on a car, I gave you so much money and you spent it on a car, and that's more, right? That's a lot. More here is the lot of money. But if you had that car for a long while, your desire would start to decrease and decrease and decrease until it becomes just another normal car. It becomes less and less and less and less. But some people don't learn lessons from that. They don't learn that, listen, I can have this flashy car, but in a few months' time or a few years' time, I'm going to get bored of it, and it's going to become just like any other car. But they don't learn their lesson. So then they want to change that car and get a new car, and they want to change that bag and get a new bag. They want to change those jewelries for new jewelries. They want to change these things for new things. just like the ocean water. Because the person is thirsty, he's trying to hydrate himself, but instead of hydrating himself, he's drinking the ocean water, and he's getting thirsty and thirsty and thirsty and thirstier. So he takes one sip, he's not hydrated. He becomes even more thirsty, and then he tries to drink even more, and then he becomes more thirsty, and he keeps trying to drink more until he's held a prisoner to the worldly life and he is killed. Just like the one who keeps drinking the ocean water, inevitably if he keeps drinking it, he's going to die. He's going to die. So they don't understand how more of the worldly life can actually mean less meaning. It can mean less satisfaction. They don't understand how it can decrease and decrease and decrease. And they don't know how less is more. By having less, you can have more meanings. If you have a home that's small, the house is small and tiny, but you have a loving family within that tiny home, it is far better than having a house that's so humongous as far as the eyes can see, but you have no one to live therein. You have no love in that house, you have no connection in that house, you have no care, you have no meaning, you have no focus and depth in any that house. You just hear your own echo, that is it. All you hear is your own echo. You only hear your own echo. So don't be deceived and understand this. Understand that less of the worldly life can lead to more, and understand that more can lead to less, and more can lead to more, and less can lead to less. Wallahu musta'an. And don't be deceived by those people that keep telling you that you need more, and you need more, and you need more. Why don't they ever tell you this? Why don't they tell you that more of a thing can come with less of a thing? Why don't they tell you that? Because they're trying to either sell you something, they're trying to use you, or they're trying to deceive you, because they themselves have been deceived. And the reality of people is, when they are fooled, they then try to fool others, thinking that the others are fools when the others are not fools. So be cautious, be aware. Now, you see, this should put things into perspective for you, and I've spoken about this before. Less time equals more focus. Less time equals more focus. If we were to say, Samir is in this chat right now, if we were to say Samir had 4 years left of living. Let's say Samir had 4 years left of living, and Allah knows best. But just as an example to give, let's say Samir had 4 years of living. And that would mean he has 4 years of salah left. Okay? 4 years of salah left in this worldly life, and he has 4 years of interactions left. Interactions, those are 4 years of actions and speech. Actions and speech. Actions and speech. Actions and speech. So that means he's only got 4 years of all of this. So maybe today is day 1. Day 1 has gone. That means that portion of that year is gone, never to come back for Brother Samir. Meaning everything he could have done on day 1 has now disappeared, because he only has a certain number of prayers in this worldly life, and day 1 has gone and a number of prayers have gone. And then day 2 comes, then day 2, whatever interactions he was going to have, because he only has a select number of interactions in this worldly life. And those select interactions then go as the day goes by. As the day goes by. And then the days and the entire year goes, and that entire year is gone. And remember, he's only got a select number of actions and speech. actions and speech. And that year will never come back. Never. Ever. It will never come back. Cry as much as you like. Wish as much as you want. Regret as great as you can. But those years are never coming back. Those seconds are never coming back. And the Imam from the Salaf spoke the truth when he said, O son of Adam, you are but a few days. Whenever a day goes by, a portion of you and a part of you goes with it. He spoke the truth. Because you only have a select number of actions. You only have a select number of interactions. You only have a select number of actions and speech, prayers, and things that you can actually achieve and gain from reward. Once that's gone, the opportunity is gone. It's a door that opens only for that one day. Once that day is gone, the door is closed and it won't open again. So when you think of it like this and you see that you have less time, you don't have more time in the worldly life, you have a select number of days in the worldly life. The more days go by, the less days you have left. The more days go by, the less days you have left in the worldly life. So then the more precious every single second starts to become. That's why when people reach an old age, they start to wake up and say, listen, my years are very short. Then you'll find them starting to read the Quran and maybe seeking forgiveness and trying to do as much khair as they can, because the reality has hit them. But the reality should have hit us long time ago. The reality should not hit you in your elderly age. So understand that everything that you do today, whatever it is that you do, you only have a select few numbers of it in this worldly life. And once you do it, and once you complete it, it's gone. And this is like this shows the heaviness of the prayer itself. Because the moment you finish your salah, you say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. It's almost as if you are greeting that prayer, because guess what? It's gone and it's never coming back in this worldly life. It's gone and it's never coming back in this worldly life. And so when you think of it like that, then you will be so more attentive in your prayer, because you know once this prayer is gone, it's not coming back. And the reason why you think this way is because every single action that you do, you will be questioned concerning it. And if you're going to be questioned concerning every action that is done, that has now gone, that is not going to be there again in the worldly life for you, you're going to be very attentive concerning it. You're not going to waste your time and breath in arguing with the people. And that's why some of the people of the Salaf, when they would be stopped and they would be asked for some time, they would tell them, stop the sun from moving, i.e. stop time, and then I will engage with you, or else I cannot. Because they understood that they were going to be questioned concerning what they did, and then they would rather spend their time doing things that are of greater reward, that are of greater meaning, than just uselessly speaking and wasting their time. Wallahu musta'an. And that is the thing that the people don't seem to understand. Everything that you do, it has a select amount of time. There are a select amount of numbers. Once those numbers are finished and the time is gone for you in this worldly life, the only thing that will remain for you is either to be rewarded for it or punished, or for you to be questioned concerning it. And that is it. That is it. So you go and you pray your salah, you finished it, the angels have written it for you, and it's gone, and it's never coming back in the worldly life. But then on the day of judgment, you're going to be shown your book of deeds, and it's going to show on this day, in this place, you prayed. It's going to be a detailed record of your prayer. A detailed record of your prayer. And you will be questioned concerning it. Were you attentive? Were you sincere? Did you do it properly? Did you do it for my sake? For the sake of Allah? Did you do it for Allah's sake? You'll be questioned. So less is more. Less is more. So when you understand this gravity, that you only have a few amount of days in this worldly life, and that you will be questioned, and the questioning is grave and severe, it's heavy, then you will be more attentive and more focused and more cautious in what you say, in what you do, in your prayer, in your dealings with the people, in how you spend your time, in where your time even goes. But because the people have now messed up more and more, and less is more and more is less and more, less is less, and they've confused and jumbled it all up all over the place, and they just want you to focus on more, and they say more is positive, more is the aim, more is success, and less is something to run away from, and less is actually failure, and less is something to look down upon, and less is harmful. Then the people become deceived, they become fooled. How is it that the Prophet ﷺ, he had less of the worldly life, but he is the best of men? But there are people in this worldly life that will tell you to be the best, from the best of men in this worldly life, you need to have the most of the worldly life. The Prophet ﷺ would sleep on a bed that was made of straw. The Prophet ﷺ would go hungry, extreme hunger in many cases, such that the fire would not be lit for a month or two. Not even a fire would be lit, meaning the food would not be cooked, and the Prophet survived on dates and water in terms of food. Okay. So the Prophet ﷺ, he lived with less. This is the matter to do with zuhud. He lived with less and less and less. Yet he is the best of men. So how can the people confuse you into thinking that more equals the best, when the Prophet ﷺ didn't have the most of the worldly life, the most riches of the worldly life, the most glitters of the worldly life, the biggest houses and the biggest thrones and the biggest gold jewelry and biggest rubies and diamonds and emeralds and you name it? Because the more that actually truly matters is the internal more. What is it? More fear of Allah, more taqwa, more sincerity, more love to Allah, more hope in Allah, more reliance upon Allah. More of the internal is actually what matters, not more of the external. Because the more of the internal, it rectifies your heart, and if the heart is rectified, then the body is rectified. But more of the external can be a distraction for the heart, and it could actually poison the heart and kill it. So how can they claim the best of men, or to teach you what manhood is, when they don't understand that what they are calling to is poison to kill the hearts of men? It's crazy. So don't be deceived by all of this. Don't be deceived by the callers to the worldly life. They are the callers to the worldly life. They are the aiders of the shayateen. They are the distractors to the path of goodness. They are the, what do they call them? Qutta'u turuq. They call them the, what are they called again? Bandits. They are the bandits. They're the bandits that stand in the highway to steal whatever good there is that you have. They want to steal your time and your attention, your focus, and just waste it. But guess what? There's no man that's going to help you on the day of judgment. No man will save you on that day. No man is going to save you against Allah's punishment on that day. Allah has written for you punishment. Which guy is going to help you? Someone speaking about Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is not going to help you on the day of judgment. He's never going to save you on the day of judgment. If Andrew Tate was to be punished, he can't even save himself, let alone save you. This is the affairs of the worldly life. The affairs of the worldly life is such that everyone's going to be naked. They will be naked, and the Prophet ﷺ was asked, will they not look at each other because they're all naked, all different types and shapes and sizes of people everywhere, everyone, will they not be looking? And the Prophet said, the matter on that day is going to be so severe for them to even bother looking. The matter on that day is far more severe. It's far more severe. It's far more severe. It's far more severe. And when hellfire is brought and the people fall onto their knees and they see the great horrors and they know فَيَوْمَئِذٍ لَا يُعَذِّبُ عَذَابَهُ أَحَدٌ, that surely on that day no one punishes like how Allah will punish. No one will punish like how Allah will punish. On that day the people will say, myself, myself. يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ. Man will flee from his brother. وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ. His mother and his father. You know, the mother and the father that is held dear in the worldly life. وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ. And his wife and his children. You know, his close family. There's two forms of family. The family of the father and the mother. The family of the brothers and the family of the wife and the children, and he runs away from them on that day. On that day when the young one's hair is going to become grey because of how severe it's going to be, and the one that has a baby will drop her load on that day because of how severe the matter is going to be. And people then want to ask about the likes of Andrew Tate. People shouldn't be asking about the likes of Andrew Tate. The likes of Andrew Tate should be asking about himself, and those asking about Andrew Tate should not be asking about him, but they should be asking about themselves, because you should truly fear for yourself and not for someone else. Fear for yourself. Fear for yourself. So may Allah allow us to understand what more is and what less is. May Allah allow us to understand how short. And look, when you understand this perspective that I have spoken to you concerning less and more, I'll give you an example. The Prophet, Allah Azza wa Jal, actually has informed us that the day of judgment is actually near. Allah has told us that it's drawing near. When something is near, what is supposed to be our reaction to it? Our reaction to being informed that the day of judgment is near should be that we are more what? Focused. We are more what? We are more careful. We are more what? Understanding. We are more cautious. Are we though? No, we're not. Because our whole understanding of what less and more is has been jumbled up all over the place, and it's all over the place, and we're all confused, and we're all running after things we shouldn't be running after, and we're starting to lose meanings of things that we should actually hold on to. So the day of judgment is drawing near. We should be more fearful. We should be more humble. We should do more good. We should act a lot more. We should be more cautious with our speech. We should be more increasing in our adhkar and seeking more forgiveness. We should be preparing more, because the reaction to something which is less, not far away, should be more, but it isn't. It isn't. And this is the thing. It's the people of corruption who see the day of judgment to be far away, but in reality it's actually very near. They see it to be far away. Why do they see it to be far away? Because what did we say about more? The more you can push the world, the more you can push the day of judgment away and say that it's something that's far away, the less concern you're going to have concerning it. Oh, don't worry. It's years and years away. Don't worry about it. It's far away. Don't worry about it. They give it less and less and less and less concern. So understand that less is more and more is less. More is more and less is less. And wisdom is to place things in its right place. Wisdom is to place things in their right places. Imagine you have a loved one and you can only spend 1 hour a day with them. Only 1 hour. 23 hours you do not see them, you do not hear them, you do not engage with them, you do not interact with them. All you are left alone is with yourself. So you will think, what can I say? How can I interact? What can I do for them? How can I look after them? And when you have that 1 hour and that golden opportunity, you will be more attentive to what they have to say. When they speak, you will listen. And you will be gentle. And you will be soft. And you will be more patient. And you will be more forbearing. Why are you more forbearing? Because you know you only have 1 hour left. So why should you destroy the entire remaining time just because of a slip up here and there? You will be more patient with them, more understanding of them, more forbearant. And that itself is what good character is. If you're someone who is attentive and you're focused when the person is speaking, and you are kind and gentle to that person, and you speak good words to that individual, and you show that you are interested, that indeed is good manners. And that will make you more beloved to the people, more beloved than your riches, if only they knew. You see, it's this entire understanding of more and less, that more or less drove the Salaf, drove their ambitions, drove their actions, drove their mindset. I'll give an example. If you knew that if you sacrificed 60 years of sleeping, and you worked hard and you worked sincere and you were truthful to your Rabb, that you would be able to sleep for a good 1,000, 2,000 years in comfort, would you give it up? Would you sacrifice 60 years for, let's say, 1,500 years, 1,400 years, 1,300 years? Well, you see, many of the righteous people, there were many nights that they sacrificed because they knew that their worldly life is short, but the grave that they would spend may be very long. I'll give an example. For example, let me give you one example. Ahmad bin Hanbal. He died over 1,000 years ago. He was alive for a few years in this worldly life. You read about him in his life. Even though he lived for a few years he spent above the ground, walking above the earth, spending time with family, writing, speaking, teaching, warning, in prison, being oppressed, and defending the Sunnah and doing all that which he did in the few years. But he's been in the grave longer than he was walking on this earth. He was alive for a few years, but he's been dead for over 1,000 years, 1,000 years. And if he's in comfort and he's been rewarded in his grave, and he's been relaxed in comfort and peace and serenity, and he can sleep comfortably, and he's been sleeping comfortably and resting comfortably for 1,000 years. Is that not worth every single trial and tribulation and hardship and suffering that he ever went through in those few years alive? You see how it puts things into perspective? It does. And then we go even far beyond the life of the grave. Then we're going to speak about eternity. What is eternity to a few years in this worldly life? What is the eternity in the paradise compared to a few years in the worldly life? When one dip alone in paradise is going to make you forget any suffering, any hardship, the tired feeling of not even sleeping during that one night because you are awake worshipping your Rabb. You will forget about any hardship and suffering and difficulty you ever went through. And you will say, by Allah, I have never experienced or seen any hardship or difficulty ever. And Allah has power over all things. So if we now zoom out and we go to more, which is eternity, to less, which is the life in the worldly life, surely only the fool is the one who will trade that which is far more grateful than any treasure in this worldly life for something which is far less equivalent than sand and dirt. That's why Ibn Taymiyyah, when he would speak to the rulers and the kings, and they thought that he wanted to take rulership away from them, and he would tell them that he doesn't even view the entire kingship to like a coin or to dirt or whatever it is. It's not even equivalent to him, because his aim and his aspirations and his objectives was eternity. Eternity is far greater in the mind of the intellectual one than any kingship, than any rulership in this worldly life. It's not comparable. Only the foolish one, the dumb, stupid one is the one who will ever try to make that comparison. But that wasn't him. And they're all getting scared, saying he wants to take my position. No, he doesn't need to take your position. He's trying to seek a position that's far greater than you will ever be able to comprehend and understand. And that is called paradise. So I'll leave it with that, inshallah. Always remember, less is more. More is less. There's more focus. There's more care. There's more, there's more understanding. Less is less as well, because the less things you have, the less harms you have to deal with. But the more things you have, the more harms you have to deal with. Where did all these plastic harms and all these toxic harms and all these different toxins come from, and all these different things? Where did it come from? It's because we have so much different things. If we lived in a house where we only had one or two items, where are all these toxicities? Where are all these toxicities? So if we had less, we would be dealing with less. But then when we have more, we deal with more problems. But then the people push you to have more of the external things. If you understand this, then inshallah you will be able to see life in a different lens, in a lens that a large majority of the people cannot see it, and they just fall into the loop, into the cycle, run after. As the brother mentioned, it's like a hamster that's on a, where is it that the brother mentioned? It's a hamster in a wheel. It's like a hamster that's in a wheel, and wheel is just going again and again and again and again and again, and they just keep going and keep going and keep going, and they keep repeating the same cycle. And you see the cycle is a circle here, like the wheel as well. They repeat the same cycle that's been repeated for 1,000 years, thousands of years. They aren't the first ones to run after the worldly life and run after gold and jewelry and the opposite gender, and try to run after fame and name and run after attention and run after all these things of the worldly life. There have been people for thousands of years that have been running after the same thing, and the end was all the same, but apparently that's not enough as a reminder for the people. The end was that they all died in this worldly life. They all died. And they will all be questioned concerning their lives and how they lived their lives and what they did in their lives. So be cautious of this wheel. Time is precious. Time is dear. Time is beloved. Time is honored. Time is not insulted. Time is not blamed. That's what the disbelievers say. They say nothing destroys us except time. Our enjoyments in this worldly life is limited because of time. Our worldly life is limited in this worldly life because of time. Had it not been for time, we would have been able to enjoy ourselves. But the disbelievers, if only they knew, when they taste one dip of the hellfire, they will forget any comfort they ever had in this worldly life. And they say nothing destroys us except time. But then they will wish that Allah destroys them on the Day of Judgment. They will say, Ya Malik, let your Rabb put an end to us. Let your Rabb put an end to us. They will wish for destruction upon themselves, but they will never, ever be destroyed in the sense that they want. If you understand this, you will also learn to not be affected by the people's evil actions. That's true. You see, this is the cycle of evil action. It's a cycle that repeats itself, and it keeps repeating itself years after years after years. And what is this cycle? The cycle is this. The cycle is that your nafs commands you with evil. Okay? Your nafs commands you with evil. It has this attraction to evil. Okay? And then you have external factors like the shayateen from mankind and jinn kind. Mankind and jinn kind who will whisper evil to your heart. They will whisper evil to your heart. They will tell you more, get more of the worldly life. You need more of the worldly life, and you will run after more of the worldly life. And they will speak a language. They will speak a specific language of evil. Language of evil that your nafs is attracted to. There's some form of attraction to it. There is some form of attraction. That's why as a believer you are told to rein the helms of your nafs and control your nafs and control your desires and control your impulses and control your emotions and control it, and be patient and be patient and be patient. You are told to withhold your nafs from unlawful inclinations, and if you surely do that, then what will be your reward? Your reward will be what? Paradise. Because it's not easy to withhold your nafs, and it's not easy to say no to the shayateen that are speaking a language that your nafs is already commanding you with. For a large majority of the people, they will say, you know what, this is just common sense because my nafs is commanding with evil and they're speaking the language of evil, so that should mean I should just do what they tell me to do. But no, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said that the nar, the fire, is surrounded by what? By the shahawat. The unlawful inclinations of the nafs is what surrounds hellfire. And what surrounds paradise? Al-makari, the things that the nafs finds it somewhat hard. And that's why the cycle keeps repeating, because shaitan just keeps repeating the same thing to just different groups of people, and they keep falling for this cycle, and they keep repeating this cycle, and there's nothing new that shaitan is going to tell them. There's nothing new. What he's telling them today is what he's told people 1,000 years ago, and what he's told people before then, and what he's going to tell people again and again. There's nothing new he's saying. There's nothing new he's saying. What is it that he will say? He will say the opposite gender. You have desires there. Gold and jewelries and statements of show. And fame and notoriety. And name and attention. Yeah. And then there's the desires of the stomach of food and drink that the people cannot withhold themselves from. And then there's the desires of the imagination, which is far more wide and far more encompassing and far more comprehensive. Is the desires of the imaginations, because Iblis will speak to them a language of evil. It will say, you desire this imagination. What is this imagination? Your imagination is to kidnap three people, torture them slowly, hear them screaming, don't feed them, but cut them until you take the drips of blood out. Until there's no blood left inside the person. And do that to all three people, and once you've done that, drink the blood entirely to your fill. Because you have to first be thirsty, and then you go back to that pool of blood that you have and drink to your fill. Drink the blood to your fill. Why? Because your imaginations, you've always wanted to, number one, kidnap someone, because you've watched all these shows and you've watched all of these things that have put ideas into your mind. You wanted to torture people and feel how it is to have power over others, such that you can hurt them a lot, and then you want to hear them scream because you find satisfaction in the pain and suffering of others. And you're told to drink to your fill of blood because you are thirsty and extremely thirsty, and you somewhat deserve to drink. That's your trophy. That is your trophy. You know, when you do sports, you do an activity and you're sweating and you're thirsty, you go and drink water, and that water is like, that water is nice. But your desire of imagination was to do this. Don't worry, we will facilitate it. We'll help you with it. Now go drink that blood. This is just one example of the desire of the imaginations, and this is not a far-fetched desire. This is something common. It's happened before, it happens now, it's very common, it's not strange, it's not weird, it's very common. Very, very common. Not strange and weird in the sense that it doesn't occur. It does occur. And you just name it, it just falls into these categories. It falls into these categories, and then it just goes back, and then it goes back, it goes back, it goes back, and it just repeats itself. And the people don't seem to learn a lesson from it. They don't. Which is pretty ironic, because the people that view you as animals are literally the same hamsters that are going on the same wheel that the other hamsters before them have went on. Which is pretty ironic, isn't it? They call you sheep, they say you're a useless eater. Who's more of a useless eater than they are? Allah musta'an. So I'll leave you with that, inshallah. Less is more is less, more is more, less is less. You just need to understand what's being said. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.